DJ Spark back in the building with another album review, and today I'm reviewing Ab-Soul's Herbert album. Be sure to stick to the end for a final score. Ab-Soul drops his first album in 6 years, and it's about time because as far as TDE goes, since K-Dot has left, Ab-Soul is pretty much the top dog next to Schoolboy Q. And I think TDE really needed this drop. The album kicks off with a 2-part track in Message in the Bottle, where he talks about things as if they haven't really gone the way they were supposed to, and people talking as if he's close to the end, but in reality, I think he's far from it. I think this is a strong opening track with good penmanship, mentioning everything from religion to losing his best friend and being on the come up. The next song, No Report Card, gives us some old school vibes between the instrumental itself and how he flows on that instrumental. He talks about how he wasn't always the best at learning, but is still able to craft great penmanship by broadening his horizons. Hollandaise is another song where we get a beat switch or 2 parts within the song, and from a production standpoint, I really enjoy this beat switch. As I usually say, beat switches do become a bit stale, but I think it works here. He also talks about religion yet again, as it does seem to be a common theme throughout this album, as the album is darker relative to previous albums of his, so, he starts to question religion a bit. And that's what he says here, he says he stops going to church because he's questioning if religion is worth it, and asks what Jesus would do if he was in Ab's shoes, which is an interesting and thought-provoking question to ask, but in the end, I still think Jesus would just be godlike. On Moonshooter with Joey Badass, Ab-Soul says he questions everything, which is a very philosophical mindset, and that's why we get so many introspective lyrical tracks from Ab and what makes him so great. He makes his listeners think, and in my opinion, that shows great artistry. The Joey Badass feature is a solid touch as well, as I think everything that Joey touches pretty much turns to gold. As far as the bangers of the album go, between FOMF, Go Off, and Church on the Move, I do think the overall lyricism between these 3 tracks are a bit lackluster compared to the rest of the tracks on the record, although I'm not surprised because when it comes to bangers, you don't have to have those introspective takes, it's really all about flow, delivery, and the beat itself. On Go Off, we get Russ and Big Sean features, and in my opinion, those are pretty big features. This is definitely a Russ type beat, but I think Big Sean actually outshines him on this feature. I think his flow, delivery, and lyrics on it are just more attractive overall. We also receive a group of real gritty Griselda-like tracks, right? In Goodman, Gangin' 'Em, Bucket, and Gotta Rap. I think Ab-Soul has some really solid performances on these tracks, but I definitely would have loved to see like a Benny the Butcher or a Conway the Machine feature on one or a couple of these songs. What I really like about these instrumentals in particular is the vocal chops. I think it creates a unique soulful dimension to these grittier beats that we don't normally get on these types of instrumentals. In Goodman, I like that he questions why we tear each other down or throw up a block, as he says, instead of building it up. He really sends some good messages in that aspect, and I also like the delivery switch up in Bucket and how he matches a melancholy flow to a solemn beat. And I love the sax lead in Gotta Rap. Anytime you add a brass or woodwind to a hip-hop beat, I think it helps it stand out a ton. But a standout track on this record is Do Better. The repetitive gotta do better lyrics in the hook is almost like a stream of consciousness in our own heads. When we know we haven't been grinding as hard as we should, or maybe being lazy or procrastinating or whatever it may be, that is definitely something that can repeat in our own inner monologue. Whether it is doing better at your job or your passions, or even being a better person within your family or just in society in general, it is a solid and creative message on a beautiful instrumental. Now, The Art of Seduction may be the only song I personally wasn't feeling as much on the other tracks here. I didn't think it was overall as strong relative to the other songs, and it just felt a bit more tedious than the other tracks. The Wild Side, though, also had a gritty instrumental, but the addition of Jhene Aiko harmonies with Ab-Soul is really a great move because you don't see this as often when it comes to verses in hip-hop, and I think it gave this very bluesy, soulful layer to what was already a great track. I think that more singers should definitely harmonize like this in hip-hop. It Be Like That was another standout track, as the piano loop and saxophone addition give it a very jazzy vibe where Ab's vocals have great chemistry with. I also love the penmanship on this track where he says, he messed up, other people slighted him, and sometimes even though it be like that, it it doesn't have to end up like that. You can always right the wrongs and steer the ship in the right direction. The second part of the song is an interesting switch up where we get some extremely soulful vocals from Ab that we don't normally hear from him, where he says he's spiraling out of control, and he says this over and over and over again, and a sad mind is a set mind, and it takes an army to stop it. I think those are some pretty profound and powerful lyrics. But that's why I love Ab-Soul so much. You know, he's really raw and real and poetic. And lastly, my personal favorite song on this album is Positive Vibes Only. While not the most lyrical song on the album, it still has extremely relatable lyrics about being positive and anti-negative. The vibes in the instrumental and crooning in the pre-chorus and in the hooks, it is very catchy, and it has those late 2000s, early 2010s Kanye-esque vibes, so this track is not only strong thematically, but nostalgic for those that love their late 2000s hip-hop vibes. In some cases, I love autotune, in a lot of cases I don't, but here the distortion in the vocals and the autotune in his voice really make for a catchy track, even if it may be more profound. But overall, there aren't many shortcomings that come with this album, as Ab-Soul proves growth and penmanship over really well-crafted instrumentals and smart features. The album is darker, more melancholy and solemn than we've ever heard from Ab-Soul, but overall, it is powerful. And I do want to mention, I don't normally compare my reviews to other reviews, but I did see that Pitchfork did review this and gave it, you know, kind of a mid score. And they said that the quote that I heard was that they said there was an overcommitment to hip hop. And I think that's just an unfair review or thing to say about this album. I think that Ab-Soul had a really great mix, a lot of different sounds, paying homage to old school hip hop, some grittier hip hop, and some modern day hip hop. And even if there was an overcommitment to hip hop, who really cares? That's the genre. And I think that this album is doing a great service to the genre. I just think that Pitchfork has been a little off when it comes to their hip hop reviews. That's all I'm gonna say. But I do think this album deserves a 9.1 out of 10, and my favorite songs are Moonshooter, Do Better, The Wild Side, Positive Vibes Only, and Gotta Rap. But what were your thoughts on this album? Did you love it as much as I did? Did you not like it so much? And what were your favorite songs? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming by. Very much appreciated. If you liked the video, hit a like and subscribe to the channel if you like making music, talking music, and listening to music just as much as I do. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at EJSpark1. And as always, you know what it is. It's peace, love. I love s'mores. EJ out.